Anyone who's even remotely a fan of boxing knows what went down between Devin Haney and George Kambosos. In case you didn't, here's a short summary. Some words were exchanged, and after a few quick punches, our man Kambosos suffered a heavy loss. But like all good battles and wars, there's never a quick end. A little birdie told us about a possible rematch, and we're here to spill all the details. First up, let's address the match which started it all. This was a massive battle, to say the least, and here's why. The last time boxing had an undisputed lightweight champion was in 1990, nearly 2 decades ago, when the legendary Pernell Whitaker held 3 belts. With a win in this fight in Australia, both Kambosos and Haney would have been able to write their names in boxing history. The winner would also go on to become the 4-belt era's first undisputed lightweight champion. Long story short, it was a lightweight title fight for the ages, and any combat fan would have given half a limb to see it live. As fate would have it, Devin Haney outpointed George Kambosos Jr. to become the unified lightweight champion, the first man to do so since the 4-belt era. The fact that the 23-year-old traveled to Kambosos' home country, Australia, to fight for the belt in front of 40,000 raucous Aussies made the victory even more impressive. During the negotiations, a rematch clause was inserted to allow Kambosos to compete again in Australia if he was defeated. Next, let's see what the future holds. Needless to say, the match is back on again. 2 months after losing his unification lightweight fight to Devin Haney on June 5th in Melbourne, George Kambosos Jr. will face his American opponent on October 16th in a mouthwatering sequel. Kambosos was defeated by Haney in the second largest boxing match in Australian history at Marvel Stadium. Of course, as any good fight does, it came following a verbal brawl in which the 29-year-old was unable to deal with Haney's excellent jab and defense. Here are all the details as we know it. Haney put on a masterful performance, rarely looking troubled. It was a far cry from Kambosos' epic 6-month victory over Teofimo Lopez in New York, where both men ended up on the canvas. However, Kambosos, who has kept a low profile since his defeat, says he is looking forward to doing the talking in the ring when the two meet in the spring. "I'm just looking forward to talking in the ring," Kambosos said. Likewise, Kambosos likewise. He went on to say that whatever the deal is, whether it's revenge or redemption, would be seen on October 16th. For now, he is enjoying the fruits of his labor, and when the time to fight comes, he'll be ready. Further adding that he has purposefully kept a low profile since his defeat and stated that he will do more talking in the ring this time. Next, let's dive a little deeper into Kambosos' mind. The fighter didn't want to reveal what lessons could be drawn from the one-sided defeat, preferring to keep his cards close to his chest. Although this time he did specifically make a point to mention that he'll do his talking with his hands. Yikes! To say we're excited would be an epic understatement. Prior to his fight earlier this year, Kambosos was constantly on the offensive. It came as Kambosos attempted to sell out the Melbourne fight. With no need to defend his belts, Kambosos will enter the ring as the underdog, with the fight likely to take place at Melbourne's Rod Laver Arena. It's a mindset Kambosos has carried with him his entire life. However, the boxing sensation has stated that he will be prepared for the rematch as he attempts to shock the world once more. Talking about his fan base, he mentioned how he had the support and the love, and that he didn't have to sell the fight this time around because his fans would see how confident he is on the 16th of October. "I know the support will be there, and it's up to other people to sell the fight." Next up, what's this we hear about Kambosos and the reporter? You'd have to be a brave man to take on a wounded boxer who has recently lost his championship belts. In the aftermath of his lightweight unification title fight loss to American Devin Haney, one reporter was brave enough to try to do just that to Australian fighter George Kambosos Jr. He was defeated in 12 rounds as he attempted to win all 4 world title belts at a sold-out Marvel Stadium. In the end, Haney's left jab decided the outcome, and the marks it left on Kambosos' face were visible after the fight. The Australian fighter, on the other hand, was quick to dismiss any suggestions that he was in pain as a result of the fight. Now, here's what went down. In a press conference, Kambosos said that he didn't feel as if he had just been through a 12-round war. When the fighter started comparing the damage to what he received in his win over Teofimo Lopez, a reporter interrupted and said, "Your face looks like it though." Kambosos was quick to respond, saying that they were only a few marks. But he didn't stop there, further saying that if the reporter were to jump in the ring with him, he'd be the same. And that is why, friends, one should never challenge a boxer. We should let this be a lesson to us if we value our faces. Kambosos admitted he took a big risk by fighting Haney, conceding he could have fought for less money to keep the 3 world title belts he lost. lost. However, he stated that risk-taking is in his blood and that he intends to return stronger than ever in their rematch. He further added that he's the man in the ring, and at the end of the day, he was responsible for making it happen. If he hadn't chosen this fight to protect his records, he could have gotten an easy fight. But I take the risks, and that's part of the risk, Kambosos said. As his final parting words, the boxing legend said that he'll return hungrier than ever. Now, here's some other news that might interest you. First up, we have our eyes on Mike Tyson's health. The boxing legend has been spotted in a wheelchair and walking with a cane in recent weeks, and speculation about his health status skyrocketed after he was spotted at Miami International Airport at the age of 56. Several witnesses saw Tyson in the wheelchair, and Iron Mike released a statement on his podcast to give his version of the events. He said that one day we're all gonna die, further talking about seeing dots on his face and thinking his expiration date is coming up. According to media reports in the United States, the former boxer is suffering from a sciatica flare-up in his lower back, a problem that forced him to rest for weeks 2 years ago when he couldn't get out of bed. The same issue plagued him at the end of his professional career and was one of the reasons he decided to hang up his gloves. We wish him the best of health. Next on our news radar is Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, the British heavyweight boxing champion, has urged the British government to impose harsher penalties for knife crime after his cousin was stabbed to death on a night out over the weekend. The Gypsy King boxer said his cousin, Rico Burton, 31, was attacked at a popular bar in Manchester early Sunday local time. The boxer took to Instagram to call knife crime a pandemic and further added how ridiculous it was becoming. Knife crime has long been a problem in the United Kingdom, where there is widespread social anxiety about stabbings. Knife crime increased 10% in England and Wales in the year ending March, with police recording nearly 50,000 offenses involving a knife or sharp instrument, according to data from the Office for National Statistics. Lastly, we need to address Jake Paul and his antics. After canceling his fight against Hassan Rahman Jr., Jake Paul has already lined up 3 opponents for the August 6th fight. The YouTuber discussed a 3-name wish list that will undoubtedly help him improve his ring experience. Mike Tyson is a boxer Paul would love to fight, according to Paul. He did not speak as a fan. His intention is to meet the former heavyweight champion inside the ring. Jake Paul's other 2 possible candidates, both Nate Diaz and Anderson Silva, according to Jake Paul, are great potential rivals who could compete in a main event in December 2022 or the first months of 2023. But is Mike Tyson even interested in fighting Jake? Paul has already attempted to contact Mike Tyson, but this fight will not take place unless Mike Tyson receives a much larger payday than Jake Paul has been offering his opponents. Mike Tyson continues to train and prepare for fights on a daily basis after retiring. The former champion is constantly using social media to demonstrate that he still has that knockout punch of legend. However, Jake Paul has been chastised for fighting retired boxers or non-professionals, and rightly so, in our opinion. That's all for this video, friends. Who do you think will win the rematch? Do let us know, and we'll be back soon with another video. Bye!